Hello, and welcome to Huskies Health. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, my philosophical co-host, the host of his own podcast, All Black Men Need Therapy, which is a hit and an advocate for fathers' rights in parental disagreements or co-parenting situations. He will also be probably a best-selling author at some point or a politician. I'm not sure which, but he does it all. He is a true Renaissance man, Mr. Christopher Bellamy, former UConn running back. Great to see you.
Hello. Good to see you as well. Good to see you as well.
It's funny because I think I told you this every time I come upstairs or I see my family and I'm in a much better mood. They've equated it to time spent with you.
Oh man, I'm glad I can have that impact on you.
Did you do your show with Chris again? Like, how'd you know? Why? Because you're pleasant. I'm like, oh, all right. That makes sense then.
Hey man, we all need our balance, right? Like we all need balance, so.
Well, I wanted to ask you because my brother's wife is she's a district attorney.
Oh wow, nice.
It's not nice. She's a pain in the ass, but she handles a lot of child cases, and parental right cases. And she mentioned that, I was telling her about you and, just kind of bragging. And she mentioned that you're 100% right in fathers not knowing that they have rights or a possibility of getting custody, or they just give up on it.
Right.
She said there's a huge need for it. She asked if you would ever pursue the route, because I don't know that you necessarily have to be an attorney, but there are people who work in the court systems as child advocates and assess the children and will do what's in the best interest of the children. It may not necessarily be the father, but if you would have any interest in getting involved that way, or would you strictly advocate on the side of the father?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And no, the short answer is no, I have no interest in doing that. Same reason, Cully. Yeah, that I have no interest in being a therapist. Right. I don't know, man. Like, those roles are all necessary, obviously.
No, they are. They are.
The topics we discuss wouldn't be as relevant if they weren't. So, but I just listen. My hat goes off to anyone who works in child services. Like,
right.
That is a tough racket, man. That is tough. And it's crazy, dude, because obviously I have a big gap with children, where my daughter's 27 and my son's 4. But when I had my son 4 years ago, something in me changed. Like, I could no longer watch movies where it was implied that a child was hurt. Like, not even a child being hurt, but it was implied that I had to turn it off. Like, I couldn't watch it. Like, I just could not watch it. So I say that to say, I have no desire to do that work, though very necessary. Yeah. It's just so tough, man. It's tough to subject yourself to that. That's why those people who do that, they're doing God's work, man, because I can't imagine some of the stuff that they see and witness in some of these situations and households.
Right.
I'm my voice from where I sit today, right? From where I sit today, my voice will be louder / have more magnitude in the position that I'm in as I continue to build it and grow it. Like me working for the city or the state and in an official capacity, it's not necessarily my style, you know.
I get that.
So, but I know that work is necessary. When I got custody of my daughter, she had a child advocate. It was an actual attorney.
It normally is, yes.
Yeah, that was provided through the city or state. I'm not sure, but
it represents the child. Yeah,
it represents the child. Yeah, but what I'll say, in my particular case, that person was useless.
Well, they're heavily they seem heavily slanted, I would say, from the people that I've heard from. They're kind of slanted towards the mother.
So
it's not like objective.
Yeah. So this is actually a good conversation, and until right now,
I think that's why she asked.
Yeah, until right now, I didn't necessarily know why I wouldn't want to do it, other than, you know, subjecting yourself to these conditions of these families and these kids.
Yeah.
But that's something that's tangible. Like in my situation, my father's advocate, shout out to Lisa and Kanoki and Dads Do Make a Difference. She was the reason I ended up getting custody.
Right.
And not that child advocate's job was for me to get custody. That wasn't their job.
Best interest of the child.
Their job was the best interest of the child. And the best interest of my child was to be with me, which I had to do little to prove. I'll say that, right? I had to do little to prove. Like there was overwhelming. Yeah, exactly. It was overwhelming evidence as to why that my child should be with me. And again, and this is my specific case. I'm not speaking in general.
This is your experience, your opinion.
Yeah, he was out of his league. You know,
really?
He was out of his league. Like my advocate, Miss Nkanoki, was really educating him.
Oh,
you know, okay. and hey, that may have been his first case. I'm not sure, but I vividly remember seeing that dude's face one time through that whole process. Not to say that he wasn't there. I just vividly remember seeing his face because that's the most he talked, which was during the introduction. There was his job in my particular scenario was just to set up the order. So once the judge, because again, my custody case was slightly different from what I understand that most people go through, because I went through probate court.
Correct.
Because I wasn't in the system in any capacity, so I could take that route.
Order anyway.
Right. So like I didn't have to go to superior court. That's where a lot of child support cases are, custody cases. I didn't have to do that because I wasn't in the state system. So it was more calm. Like that environment compared to superior court was more calm. It was less pressure. You know, it was a more intimate environment. Like we might be literally, we were only, it wasn't a courtroom either. It was like a big conference room.
It was like mediation almost.
Yeah, almost mediation. But the judge had he had a gown on or whatever.
Yeah,
but
he had the robot.
But it was much different because I later, to receive child support, years later went to superior court to receive child support. And I don't know if I told this story, and I know I'm kind of jumping, but
it's your show. You can jump wherever you want.
My situation, my experience with my child advocate helps for me in my situation. The power for me is in the nonprofit that I was tied to, Dads Do Make a Difference, that helped me obtain custody. Now, what I'll say, another reason that I created my curriculum, this is a good segue. Another reason I created my curriculum is because here's the truth, right? Whether we want to admit it or not, as human beings, we all have some level of trauma, right? Some level of trauma. And the people who work in human services that help these kids and help these families, again, they are doing God's work. Let me just be very clear. But in a lot of cases, not all, a lot of cases, they haven't unpacked some of their trauma associated with fathers, associated with mothers, associated with children well-being.
Agreed.
There's things that they see that trigger them, and then they have an autobiographical response, meaning it's a response tailored to their life, right? It's like, okay, this is what I would do in this situation. The challenge with that is they're not in that situation. So here's a case in point. Years later, so ever since I got custody, my daughter's mother should have been paying me child support. She didn't pay me child support. I did not.
You let it go.
I did not. I let it go. Right. It wasn't
a battle. It wasn't.
It wasn't something I was trying to deal with. I'm like, whatever. It is what it is. Something happened around the time my daughter was like 13 or 14, and I got pissed, so I pursued it. Anyway, in pursuing it,
see you mad.
in pursuing it, I had to go to Superior Court. So I go up there, and you have to check in. And again, this is why I have so much respect for the organization that I partner with, because I would have not known about the probate court route. Because Cully, when I tell you Superior Court on Child Support Day, bro, it can be a reality show.
Oh, it's a war zone.
Oh my God, man!
Yeah.
So I was so grateful that I wasn't subjected to that. And no knock to anybody who has to go through that process, but buckle up. It is a lot. It's a lot. So anyway, that being said, the people behind the glass, the people who work there, their job is to facilitate, the courtrooms, make sure people have their stuff and go wherever they need to go. I go up and I'm met with like attitude almost.
From
it wasn't
judge or
no. From the clerk. So when you go up,
from the clerk.
So when you walk in, you have to give your name, and then they tell you where to go and everything like that.
Where to sit, yes.
So I was met with attitude, and not overt attitude, but like you can just feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was just like almost like I was annoying them. Just me going up, giving my name. But Cully, I kid you not, another reason why this work is so important for me, because as soon as they looked my name up and they saw that I was the recipient of the child support, everything changed.
Are you serious?
Everything changed, dude. So their whole demeanor towards me changed.
All because
I was now met with pleasantries. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So here's the reality, dude. This is but you know what? This is a blanket statement I'm about to give. We all have unconscious bias. Every single one of us. It shows up in different ways. Some of the people who do the most work around this still have unconscious bias. We all have it. Those women I encountered that day behind that glass, they had unconscious bias towards fathers, right? And I'm not saying they're wrong, right? I'm not saying they're right.
No,
but their experience has got them to that place.
They're not giving you the same.
Whereas a man walks in, again, Cully, here's the thing. This is why it's so easy for men to feel like they don't have the same rights. A man walked in, they don't know what my situation is.
No idea.
I could have equal custody. I could have no custody. I could have full custody, which in my case I did. And they treated me like I was the perpetrator.
You were the enemy.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And that's how I felt. Like, again, I just described the environment to you. So I'm walking through that environment, and then I walk to that glass, and then I'm met with more, I would say.
And you're nervous to be there anyway.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like bro, when you walk in, it's arguing and fighting. It's not physical fighting because they're in the courtroom, but it's they're going like because the father bought his new girlfriend, the mother has her new boyfriend. They're going at it like, dude. I'm telling you, man.
They all show up.
Everybody shows up. Everybody shows up. And then even if they don't have significant others, the mothers and the fathers have unresolved beef that they're there to settle. It's like, dude, it was crazy. And then I get up to the glass, and then it's like,
how long did you have to wait before you got called?
So the funny thing about this whole scenario, The two things I remember is how visceral the environment was with people going back and forth, and the treatment I received when I went to the glass. I don't even. I remember vaguely being in the court, you know, and them giving me the order, but
you were just so disrespected.
Yeah, because I wasn't going there for the money. I was going there on principle.
Right.
Like I was going there on principle. I couldn't care less about the money. Like, and it wasn't a lot that I was receiving. Like I don't know that I could pay any bill. I couldn't pay any bill with what I was receiving. But
you probably got a McDonald's Happy Meal out of it.
Yeah, it was the principle for me, you know, and that's the thing. So take that scenario, flip it around, right? Say you got a young father walking in there who is being put on child support, right? Let's just say for argument's sake, he's nervous. He doesn't understand what his rights are. Then he meets that woman at the glass and then makes him feel less than like, yeah, so I gotta comply with whatever they're saying because I don't have any power in this, right? Whether it's implied or it's understood, it's present. You know what I mean? So that's for me why it's like if I can get these fathers and talk to them and have a plan when they go into these places to help them understand, like, look, man, you're gonna have to pay child support, but here's what you are. You can go to parent teacher conference. You can communicate with teachers by yourself. You don't need the mom to do that. You have a right to visitation, right? Like she can't take this child out of the state without getting a court order. Right. Like these are all the things that you have right to that you have to make clear. But how are we going to know? Because if we go by the environment in which these places reside, we won't walk in with the understanding that, OK, these are my rights, too. So that's why I don't want to work for the city or the state. I just rather.
Completely understandable.
Yeah,
completely understandable. Well,
but my curriculum helps twofold. It helps fathers. It helps city, state workers create psychological safe environments for fathers. Right. So a father can go on with anxiety, but then feel safe. That's one. Two, it also helps with fatherhood identity. Right. So helping fathers understand where does your fatherhood identity derive from? Because we all have an identity. Yes. But a lot of us, because of how we were raised or what we see, we don't necessarily, a lot of men, not all, but a lot of men don't necessarily equate who we are to the nurturing father that we then become, right? So how do you create that early on? And lastly, it's like, how do these people who serve these communities, how do they get a better gauge on their unconscious bias, right? Like, because it's present. Whether you obviously it's unconscious, so you don't know. But here, what are the ways to trigger it to help you understand? So anyway, that's why I think my work can reach more people than just because put it this way: if I'm a childhood advocate or child advocate, the damage is done already. Yeah. Like if I'm in front of them already, that means there's steps that have been missed, and like unbeknownst, right? Like. But when you understand who you are as a father, you can move accordingly. So that's my spiel.
We had several questions, but it was basically Dante from Enfield wanted to know, okay, if you go through this process and want obviously custody or to change a custody arrangement, is it like criminal court where a lawyer can be provided to you, or do you have to get your own lawyer, or is it something where you have to argue yourself?
You can do it either way.
You can. Okay.
Yeah. So, well, I shouldn't say you could do it either way. Like it's not like criminal court where you get an appointed lawyer. You don't get
a public defender. Okay.
No, but you'll get a childhood advocate for your child.
You will.
Right.
Okay.
So every case, to my knowledge, every case that involves the child is appointed an attorney by the in Connecticut. I'm speaking for Connecticut, right?
No, they are in New York too.
Okay, so it may be different in other states, but definitely in Connecticut. So, but you don't have to have a lawyer to do that. So again,
like if you're a dad who wants custody.
So this is such good because this is actually lighting a fire under me because I've been going back and forth on how I'm going to hold the forums for education for fathers. And this is something that I would cover. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that I would cover. And
when you make a presentation.
Yeah, a presentation. And because I'm thinking about, like, I'm on the board of directors of New Britain Boys and Girls Club, and we just relaunched our alumni club. And
that's huge.
So part of my giving back will be to hold these at the New Britain Boys and Girls Club, probably monthly, just based on my schedule and me being in Boston. But these are topics that I would cover, like how one goes about getting custody, how, the
steps involved.
Yeah, people can get overwhelmed with the process. Like with the process, like all this paperwork and this and that. It's like I have conversations with people all the time about buying a house. And they're like, man, that's so much paperwork. I'm like, it's really not. Like, it's really not that much paperwork, right? You're asking somebody to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars for a loan. Like, they're going to want to know some information, So it's the same thing. You're asking for somebody to award you a child, right? They're going to want to know some information. But you want to go, you want to go there prepared. So that's something that, I mean, I'm off until the 2nd, and a lot of my time off is around administrative stuff that I need to do for myself personally. So this one's going to keep me up at night. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Is it something, because another couple of questions that we received were, is it something that you would release as a book, is something like that? Or is it something that's strictly going to be speaking? Because people were asking, like, how do I get this information?
I love it, man. I love this platform. Thank you, Cully.
I hate this. No, I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, but bro, this is good. This is good.
There were a lot of people who asked.
So
I want to know.
So part of the reason why we started the podcast, All Black Mini Therapy, is because when you audibly say something, it becomes real. Mm-hmm. Right? So now it does two things. One, you hear it out loud from yourself, so it's real to you. Two, it also gives that person you said it to, in this case, this platform, justification to hold you accountable. You see what I'm saying? So when I say this stuff out loud, it's like, okay, get your shit together, right? Like, tighten up, right? I can
tell you that.
Yeah. So the good thing is this. One, I have it's already done.
Oh, it's amazing.
Slow down. So let me finish. So I did a series, and I'm going to be starting my next one January 1st. I did a series, 10 fears, frustrations, and desires of a father. I read parts of that. Yep.
It was excellent.
I did it one every day for 30 days to cover the 10, each 10. And I'm turning that into a journal. Right. So that will be done. So that will be a takeaway when I do my speaking. I'll give that to all fathers, and I'll sell it. Like, I'm not just gonna sell it for what I made, whatever it cost me to make, $5, $6, whatever it is. I'll sell that, and it's for me. I didn't do that with that intention. But again, going back to what I just said, when you put things out there, it allows people to respond and hold you accountable to certain things. So one of my best friends, shout out to my boy Kane, he hit me up and he was like, man, he's a new father, relatively new father. His son is 2 and his daughter's like 6 months. And as he was reading my post, he said he's looking forward to it every day. He said what it did is it caused him to check himself. Like, how do these things show up in his parenting? I didn't think about it like that. This was just my way to create this community, right? By being vulnerable. So when he said that, I thought, I'm talking to him about my big book that I'm probably, halfway done with. And he stopped me. He's like, man, that's a book right there. He's like, what you just did is a book. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I guess it is. Now, for me, I was relieved to hear that because I've been dragging my feet with finishing this book, for one. So now for me, it's like, okay, this is a justified reason for me not to finish. I can put this together as a book series and have this as like a precursor. So what I'm going to start on January 1st, I'm essentially, the people who follow me are essentially going to get a sneak peek into this book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing, right? So I'm going to break down my life piece by piece, right? So 10 fears, frustrations, and desires of a juvenile delinquent, right? Like that's where I'm going to start. So I may start even before that, but somewhere around there on January 1st, I'll have all that mapped out.
You define yourself as a juvenile delinquent?
I was at one. I mean, I went to jail, bro. Like by definition,
period. Yeah.
Yeah. By definition, I was.
Okay.
So you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But then I shifted. Right. So there's part of it is true, right? Because it's by definition I was. 2, it's catchy, right? Like, so anyway, the way you can get this is soon to be released. I will get that at minimum, that journal out. I have to have it done by April, but I'll have it done most likely by late February, early March. Again, it's already done. Just the formatting of it, I have to figure it out. But yeah, that's one.
Good.
That's one.
Good. Because you wouldn't believe the amount of comments that came in asking, like, if I can't get to hear him speak, is this, it's a curriculum that you'd obviously like to get into colleges or high schools or whatnot. But if they're not part of that forum, will they be able to get the information?
And more to come on a podcast. That's part of the other thing I have to do. I have to figure out that format. More to come on that. But there's opportunity there that I have to figure out. Again, just trying to get stuff together. Good.
But it's all good stuff. Stuff.
Yeah, all good stuff.
People really appreciate what you're doing and that you're giving back. We had kind of a difficult question from a teenager, surprisingly, in Connecticut. I believe Hartford. I think it was East Hartford. Whatever the bad Hartford is, East or West.
The bad Hartford is Hartford.
Yeah, bad Hartford is Hartford.
That's the bad Hartford.
Okay. It was a 15-year-old named Jamal, currently delinquent, I would say, and he wants to change. He wants to get out of the gang that he's in. He wants to kind of use the pathway that you did through athletics and change his future, because he knows that going down the path that he's currently going down, this podcast is not geared towards teenagers, so I don't know how he heard it, but he would like to know your advice for making a change. Dude, he doesn't have the family for it, and which also is difficult. And I know that you had a mentor at the Boys and Girls Club, so I didn't want to say anything, but I didn't know if that would be the best place for him to start, or it's probably a process.
Oh no, it's absolutely a process. Okay. But first of all, shout out to you, Jamal, for reaching out, looking for help.
Yeah, I was shocked.
That's the first step, right? Like, that's the first step. So it's so funny that we're talking about this, dude, because I'm going to date myself here. But this morning I woke, my like greatest thoughts that I more often than not cannot retain happens between that moment when you're like finishing your last dream and waking up. And I just more often than not can't remember all of it.
Yeah, you gotta write it down.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I keep a recorder by my bedside, actually. But sometimes you're just too asleep to even do that. But anyway, it's so funny we're talking about this, dude, because, and now I'm going to absolutely do it. When I woke up this morning, so a friend of mine passed away just recently. And so it's been some chatter on Facebook, just, telling stories about him and stuff like that. And one of my really good friends that I grew up with, he told a story that we all knew, but it wasn't necessarily like public, but he told it about the dude, and it spoke to the guy's character, right? Because of that, me and my friend T Gibb was communicating back and forth, and I was gonna text T Gibb and my man Todd, because what I was gonna text them, and I'm gonna text them now because if this gets to them. It was 30 years ago, dude. 30 years ago, I was 12 when we made a decision to get jumped out of our gang that we were in.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and that decision came in terms of the process, right? So that I didn't do that knowing that I was gonna go to the boys club. Like, I had no idea about the boys club at the time. That just kind of,
yeah.
So here's how this works, though. Two things are gonna happen, right? When you make a decision to change, period, two things are gonna happen. The first thing is when you make that decision to, I'm talking hard pivots, right? Like, I was in a gang and I said, I'm going to get out of this gang. That's a hard pivot, right? For me at that time. One, something's going to happen that's going to make you test or question that decision, right? Mine came in the form of getting 5 staples in my head at the end of that night, right? So that was like, okay, do I retaliate? Do I get back? Right. And then what came to follow that is a lot of beef with the people that were in that gang and stuff I had to deal with.
So it wasn't over after that, you're saying?
No. That was just the beginning. At least for me. Christ. Yeah. Anyway, that's one thing, right? So then it's going to make you question that decision. Like, man, I should have just stayed. I should have just did this. Maybe I'm not doing the right thing. And then the second thing that's going to happen, if you get through that part, is the universe will start to conspire to help you achieve that. But you have to take the first step. You have to make that hard pivot and deal with the ramifications that are going to come following that decision.
You
right?
have to understand what you're getting.
It's going to happen. And I'm not speaking necessarily for gangs. This could be somebody that's deciding that they want to change their career, right? Yeah. And they go out and they say, I need to make more money. And then the moment they go out to that interview or that interview that they got set up for a new job, their car is going to break down, right? And they're going to miss that interview. And everybody, you know what? It wasn't meant to be. But I tell people, I did a long LinkedIn post about this some time ago. I tell people that you have to be prepared for that. And quite frankly, if that does happen, you should smile, because that lets you know that you're on the right track, because you're being tested to see how much you want this, right? So the decision starts within. Like, if I wasn't strong or firm on that decision, I would have wavered. I wouldn't have went through it that night with those guys, which, you know, because we went through that, we'll be bonded forever because of that, right? So I was firm on my decision. So nothing could push me off my pivot, right? Then you open yourself up to what else is out there. Because there's a contingent, for Jamal I'm speaking, there's a contingency of people that you're with every day. There's also another contingency of people that you don't see.
Yeah.
That's probably where you want to be.
Right.
Right? Like, that's probably where you want to be. You don't see them for a reason, right? Because they're doing something that's not going to get them. They're not in the mix, which is going to allow them not to get caught up in whatever bullshit is going on out there. You have to find that community. It exists. Yeah. It may be the boys club. It may be a friend that you haven't spoke to if you're 15. It may be a friend you haven't spoke to since elementary school, right? Reconnecting with him or her. Hey, what do you got going on? Right? And now just getting a better understanding of what life looks like outside of your current circumstances.
Right.
It will not be easy, because you're going to have to actively go find that community.
Right.
The community that's readily available is the reason you are where you are.
You are. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that they're bad people, but they may not be the people for you right now.
Correct.
You may be able to revisit them later down the line. You know, like I did that with a lot of my friends that we were all caught up in some nonsense.
Yeah.
Now later in life, we're adults, we're old, right? It's like we're not on that type of time anymore. But it will take it will take effort. It won't be easy. But what's your alternative, right? Like, you're clearly reaching out because there's something troubling you about the life you're currently living. and you want to make a change. And all I'm here to say is the change is very possible, but it won't be easy.
Yes.
You know, it's gonna take
time.
It's gonna take fortitude, right? And you have to be committed to that decision. Don't make it prematurely, because that can end up worse, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So that's my advice.
I was remiss. I forgot to mention our sponsors. Procyon Partners, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. President Sean Rabinowitz is a proud supporter of Husky Talk. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. And newly back with us is Green Street Trust International, run by former teammate and friend Renell Jump. They do strategic tax planning that will save you tons and tons of money. He works with top level businesses, small businesses, whatever level you're at. Green Street will work with you. And you can get in contact with them by going to their website, www.greenstreettrust.com. So we're happy to have Renell Jump back into the mix. Happy to have another sponsor. And we are going to space out our sponsorships instead of saying them all at once. That's been a request. So those are our first two. Getting back, Chris, I wanted to see, before going further, you got a chance to see practice today.
I did.
Our Huskies.
Yes.
How are we looking at Fenway or wherever they practice? Did they let them at Fenway, or are they at a high school?
No, dude. So it's actually pretty cool. So they practice at Harvard.
They went to the Vardians. Okay.
Yeah, and they have they create a bubble over the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, so
that was a big investment for them. I love it.
Yeah, no, it was nice. They look sharp, man. They look sharp.
Yeah,
they look sharp. They I caught up with my brother-in-law. You know, I took my son, which is cool. He liked that. And I saw Bob Howard. Shout out to Bob. Yes, you know, Bob is still there. And Bob looks the same, dude. Like Bob,
he does. He never ages. He's the ageless wonder.
Bob looks the same, man, which is good. We caught up for a little bit. And one big difference, Cully, and again, we're dinosaurs, right? But one big difference from when we played into what I observed today, because this is my first practice I've been to under Mora. Right. And it's not as much yelling, man.
No, they've gotten away from that.
Yeah, man, it's not as much yelling, if any. Like, I don't think I heard Mora speak once.
Yeah,
you know, and that was, as a kid, dude. I just remember like how he would get berated. You know what I mean? Like
that nonstop.
It was crazy, and it's hard to think in that environment. And I know why they do it, right? Like they test you to make sure that you're ready for game time and stuff like that. And I get it, right? But more is showing that this also can be effective, right? Like, because right now they're looking sharp, man. They're looking clean. They're looking sharp, and put it this way, they looked how I feel they should look in week 13. You know, like that's how it looked. And the second biggest thing I noticed, they play music during practice.
Oh, they love it. They love it.
I'm like, oh my God, man.
It drove me up the wall when we did it. I hate it.
But remember, when we did it, it was typically when we were playing in loud stadiums, and they had you saying when you coached. You saying when you coached.
We did it. Yeah, to try to get the kids to, practice harder and jazzed up. I never liked it, but
no, I liked it, man. I'm like,
everyone loves it.
If I was playing while music was playing, or practicing while music
go faster.
Yeah, and man, they look good, man. They look crisp. They were in shells today, and they look crisp, man. They look fast. They look crisp. They look. I didn't see any.
Was Skylar Bell there?
Yes.
Oh, he was. Oh,
yes.
That's good to hear. Yes. That's good to hear. We were worried about him. We're hoping to retain him.
Yeah, I'm almost positive. I'm pretty sure I saw him. Pretty sure I saw him.
We heard that he was going to play in the bowl game.
Yeah.
they're in the process of trying to keep him. So I hope we do.
Where's he going?
He entered the transfer portal.
Oh, see, I don't keep up on any of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either. I blame Mike Burton for that because he got me reinvested in the program. So now I keep up on that stuff.
Oh no, yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, I think it's funny because yes, he was definitely there, and because now that I think about it, he scored and Chase was because my son was with me and Chase was facing me, and I was in the back of the end zone. And then Skylar came through and scored, and he like finger rolled it over the goalpost. I'm like, see, buddy, you got to pay attention. Yeah, Scott, he was definitely there.
That's good to hear.
He looks sharp. He looks like, at least in practice, looks like he's still their number one guy. You know what I'm saying? So
that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
He was there.
I know that Bleeding Blue was trying to work something out to keep him, and I hope that they're able to, because I think with him coming back, depending on the Nick Evers situation, if he gets it figured out, they can be a very, very dynamic team. And
see, this is the part that kills me, man. And listen, everyone's motivation is different. And I can ask Kosh, but if I'm Skylar Bell, why do you want to leave? I'm not saying you shouldn't want to leave or you should want to leave. I'm just curious to know why.
Because he wants more money.
Is it money? Okay, so it's 100% money.
100%. He loves the team, loves the culture, loves his teammates. But and this would be his third transfer, I believe. Wisconsin, UConn, yeah. Which is crazy.
So he got money to come here then? Yeah.
I mean, they pay probably 25 to 30 guys on the roster right now. And that's why the fundraising is so important.
I get it. On one hand. But dude, like we were talking, right? So Kosh came to my house last night, him and my sister-in-law. And we were talking, I'm like, bro, I said, you realize that you played probably in the best era of UConn football. Because he went of his 5 years there, he went to 4 bowl games.
Who are you talking about, by the way?
Kashif Moore, wide receiver coach.
Yes. Yeah. I got a player for him.
Yeah. Kosh played.
Yes.
So I'm like, dude, Marcus, you guys probably, they all played together. Rest in peace, Jazz. They all played in Dre. They all played together. I'm like, dude, you guys played mostly Kosh, because Dre I don't think went to that many bowl games, but Kosh went to 4. And I'm
he did.
I'm like, to go to 4 bowl games in your college career from UConn, right? Where I went to the first one, and that was such a big deal for us to go to 1.
That was
then to go to 4, So
yeah,
I was just like, man. So my point. Sorry, that was a long-winded.
No.
My point in saying that is, like, dude, Skylar Bell, you have an opportunity to build something here, And again, I'm biased, right? I'm biased, and I understand that I'm biased.
We all are.
But it's like, dude, where is the legacy? Like,
that's what I said. The loyalty has to be there. Like, he came either from Wisconsin, I believe. I can't remember if it was with Evers or Sheffield came with Evers from Wisconsin, but Skylar Bell was a transfer. He wasn't doing much where he was. He still has, I think, 2 years of eligibility. And, Mike Burton rescued him. And it's the same thing, Darrell Robinson, our top running back, our leading rusher, he left, in the transfer portal. And I just thought the same thing. It's like he was at the University of Charlotte. And there were horror stories from there where, like, they had to buy their own gear, like their gloves, their Under Armour stuff, and there was no football budget. And Mike Burton rescued him, and he was a great pick. He was a great running back. And, the second the portal opened, he was the first one to enter. And I was just like, wow, like, really, you're going to 3 schools in 3 years? Like, that's just
And
I just wish the NCAA would stop it. And if you want to enter the portal, you would have to do it. I would make it after the bowl games because, a school like Marshall had to pull out of a bowl game.
Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, they pulled out. But it was a different situation. Their coach left and took a job at Southern Mississippi. And basically all the players followed. They went in the transfer portal and they followed him there. So Marshall did not even have enough players to field a team. They had to pull out of the bowl game. And the other team is playing Louisiana Tech, who has a 5-7 record.
Dude.
And that's the ramifications of the transfer portal. And it was the same thing kind of with Florida State last year. They go undefeated. They don't go to the BCS Bowl. They had 1 million people transfer. And,
they were a skeleton crew in the bowl game. I remember that. Yeah.
They had a disaster of a season this year. And it's just, I understand that it can turn around teams' fortunes in a year if done properly. But I still see it doing more harm than good. The NIL thing is fine. It's here to stay. I get that. But if you commit to a school, I think that you should at least commit to them for 2 years. If you want to transfer after 2 years, fine. But you
got to give it a chance, man. Like I
agree.
And then there's the academic component. You know what I'm saying? Like I would love to see some studies or statistics on how many of these kids actually graduate.
Well,
because not all credits are created equal. Exactly. You know what I mean? You can go to a school and lose 10 credits a semester, 12 credits, right? Like you don't know. I don't know. And it's like, how much is that even weighing into your decision? Like the education, you know, like now UConn, fortunately, if you come to UConn, you're going to get a top tier education while being able to play for a thriving program, like a program that's on the rise, but again, like we always say, man, we're in this instant gratification, era.
We are. But my fear is I don't want UConn to be a developmental program for the bigger schools. I don't want kids to come here, and some of the MAC schools do this where they say, hey, come here, play for us for a year or two. If you do well, we'll support you transferring up bigger. And I don't want us to be that. I don't think we should be that. I think that, UConn has a name, a reputation, and it's going to go to shits if that's how we operate. If we become just like a feeder school for the bigger programs. Coach Moore, God bless him, he was named Gridiron Coach of the Year in Boston, which I think it was well deserved. And I think that this year and next year are pivotal. I was at the basketball game when the women, Joe D would shoot me, the women played USC. And, if basketball continues to succeed and if football can continue to put together good seasons, I mean, they don't understand the sense of urgency. We're up against it. I mean, we got 2 years really to get into a conference. We don't get into a conference and people don't understand the NIL situation affects basketball too, because we're seeing schools in the SEC and the Big Ten become better at basketball because they're using some of that NIL money to bring in better basketball players. And if we don't have that, our basketball program's going to suffer. So that's what keeps me up at night. That's what scares me.
Yeah, man. It's
what we talk about.
It's a lot of variables.
It is. And that's why, I credit Lou Perkins for, he created UConn 2000, which was the fundraising effort he put together to raise money to build a football stadium and upgrade our facilities. And I think right now there's kind of dissension between the UConn Foundation and Bleeding Blue. You know, they want money donated to the foundation, and they want money donated to Bleeding Blue. And I believe that they got to consolidate at some point. And as Phil Hunt said, there's too many silos. There's too many silos to navigate.
But you know what though, man? That's not just UConn, dude. That's a lot of great companies. Like my company's the same way, man. We on one side they're doing something phenomenal and nobody knows about it, right? Or it's like it's protected, or it's it's just like, man, like we're all in it for the same thing, right? We're all in it for the same thing. Like the UConn Foundation needs to understand the more athletic attention we can get, the more athletes we can get, the more prominence that we can get from as a university. And Bleeding Blue has to understand, it's like, the more funding and scholars we can get to university, right? Like it helps everybody. Like we're all feeding the same pool, just from a different end.
Correct. Correctly. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
That's tough though. But this politics, man, like that's everywhere.
It's above our pay grade. that's what we met with Phil and Kevin Freeman, who runs the National Sea Club, about this, and I'm hoping we get to talk more about it tomorrow. I'm
hoping Kevin Freeman's there so I can connect with him. I could have emailed him.
He's gonna come. I talked with him. Because I put that event together. So
shout out to you for setting that up, man. You moved pretty quickly. That was great to see.
I can't take all the credit. I have a cousin in Boston who was a party promoter. He knows everyone, and he had that party planned within 10 minutes. I said,
you were, as usual, Cully. You were the glue, right? Yeah. You were the glue, man. So that works. I'm looking forward to it.
I didn't expect it to be as successful as it's going to be, but I got a private room. I got us food and drink specials. I got it all night long, no cover or anything. And it's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
We had a number of people who asked the same question. Basically about depression, and they definitely feel depressed, and they want to seek help through therapy and counseling. And they wanted to know if there's a difference between a therapist and a counselor, like a licensed mental health counselor, or a therapist. And because I did not know that.
There is. And what episode was it? We had a counselor on our show, and she explains the difference. Shameless plug. I can probably figure it out in a few minutes, but there is a difference, and the difference is mostly academic credentials.
Okay.
Yeah, like one is like you need a degree,
right?
And the other one, if you have
a certification or something.
If you have a certification in like a master's, then you can do it. It's something like that. I can tell you what episode where she breaks it.
But neither can prescribe, is what I'm.
No, you have to be a psychologist, right. a doctor. A psychiatrist. Excuse me, not psychologist. Yes, a psychiatrist and a doctor to be able to prescribe. But yes,
those are the two main questions. That, and then the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. And from what I researched it, and from what I read was a psychologist will do more talk therapy. Mm-hmm. A psychiatrist doesn't really do as much talk therapy and is mainly a prescriber. Right.
So if you go to episode 109 on All Black Men Need Therapy, the title is Representation Matters. We interviewed Idalia Crespo.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. What I was saying is episode 109, Representation Matters, Idalia Crespo, who, fun fact, was my Spanish teacher. And when I was a freshman in high school, she has a counseling program and center in New Britain, Connecticut. And she, in that episode, talks about the difference, because up until that episode, I didn't know what specifically the difference was. So yes, there is a difference. But what my suggestion to anybody who's feeling unlike themselves is just to seek help any way you can get it, right? Like, and make sure it's the right person for you. Like, don't feel like because a person has a title that, okay, well, I came here, they're qualified to help me. Right. This must be who I need to see. No, like, if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. Like that individual's job is to make you feel comfortable. That's their job, And if you don't, it's probably for a reason, right? And go find somewhere where you can feel comfortable. So,
and we'll go over this next time because it was asked quite frequently. Questions that you should be asking your therapist before you select one, and also how many should you possibly see before selecting one. So that's food for thought on the next episode. I didn't want to bring it up today, but there was a lot about that. But I did again want to commend Jamal for reaching out and asking for guidance, because that takes a lot of courage, and I commend him for that. I can't imagine what he's going through, and to make that type of decision shows your maturity and shows your awareness of what you're capable of. You're obviously going to be capable of more. So I think that's amazing. So again, please send your questions to us. Chris is excellent in answering them, and I love throwing him curveballs as well. So I have to mention our other sponsors. We have Dynamic Human Performance, which is run by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He works with boys and girls, middle school and up. He will help you reach your potential. He has a team, a tremendous team that offers personal training, group training, and they have classes throughout the day. He will get you to be at your best. So go to his website at dynamichumanperformance.com. Bleeding Blue for Good, Mike Burton, phenomenal job raising the money that we need for our NIL collective. We're going to be at Fenway Park on Saturday in the Wasabi Bowl because of the players Mike Burton was able to bring in. Him and his team have done a phenomenal job. He cannot do it alone. Let's all try to contribute and, get us to where we need to be so we can be competitive year in and year out. And then finally, the Pete Finch Law Firm. Pete Finch, based out of Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you have been in any type of personal injury, a slip and fall, a beam falls on you at a construction site, your mother-in-law tries to run you over with her car, or you get into a car accident, the Finch firm is for you. Pete has won battles all over the state of Connecticut, and he will go to war for you just like he did on the football field. So if you're ever in a pinch, call Finch. And his website is thefinchfirm.com. Remember that. And again, Green Street Trust International, who just joined us, we're happy to have Renell jump on board. He helps you with strategic tax planning, and we'll get more into that in other episodes. And before I forget, Julius Trenches Williams, he runs a big man camp. He trains offensive and defensive linemen. His first camp is in January in Miami. And if you want to learn how to be an incredible pass rusher, if you want to learn how to pass block, if you want to become a better lineman overall, Julius is the guy for you. He's in Decatur, Georgia. So anyone in Decatur, Georgia, who wants to become the best they can be on the offensive and defensive line, please go to Julius. Julius is a great guy, and he's running camps all over the country starting in January. So we're excited. And the more sponsorship that we get, the better programming we will have, and we're excited. So anyone who wants to join on, please reach out. And for Christopher Bellamy, I'm very excited. I'll get a chance to see him tomorrow. And he has the hit podcast, All Black Men Need Therapy, and all white men too, for the most part. He's done a great job being an advocate for fathers and fathers' rights, and just an all-around good person. I have to say that, all-around good person. Thank you again for another stellar episode. You are definitely on the rise, and I gotta send you a link because you are on the radio now too as well. You're on the radio. I got them to add you. So
you're always moving, Cully. You're always moving. I got to keep up.
Listen, I can get you on the radio here in New York too. I get you everywhere. As many places I can get you, I will. I want you to get as many speaking engagements as you can.
I appreciate you, man.
Right now, I'm trying to get you to Hamilton College, which is by me. Nice. I think you do great things there. But I'm excited to see you tomorrow, and I'm excited for the bowl game. And
yes,
thank you again for a wonderful episode and answering some tough questions that people had.
Yeah, man. The pleasure is all mine, sir.
But they're tough questions because I think everything you're saying is resonating with our audience, and it's growing, and you're really making a difference. So
appreciate it.
For Huskies Health, remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw